Correct. Hello. You're here for unity, right? The one word that says so much. Initially, I had hoped, I'm at the Spiritual Unity of the Tribes conference here in Oregon, Illinois, and I was hoping that I could find somebody that we could talk about this with, but and their perspective on the conference, like what, because this conference has been going on since like 1988 or something. So, like, what's their feedback? What? Because it's been done around the world, Australia, Germany, a bunch of places. I don't remember off the top of my head. But the people that weren't busy, I felt like it wasn't going to be a good fit. Not to mention at the site, there's spotty internet. So here we are doing unity with just us three. We three are unified together. There was a group of people that came there that are here from Easter Island, and I was like, man, if I could nab some of them, and like just, but I think only one of them really knew English very well, or at least the others didn't speak, so maybe they do. I don't know. Anyway, unity. A common phrase is unity and diversity, which is something that we can discuss. Unity of thought, unity of action, unity within ourselves, within our families, within our communities, within our faiths, within politics, or socioeconomic decisions and things. There's a lot of ways that we can talk about unity. In essence, it's really the remembrance and the embracing and walk on the path of the fact that we are, in essence, one. Even though we all have our own independent personality and experience, there's no way for me to separate myself from the rest of the universe. I'd like to think I could try, or I'd like to think that I have. You know, when I was younger, I always was like, I don't need anybody. But that whole no man is an island is very true. I mean, you can, even if you are living by yourself in the trees or in the mountains or whatever, you are still part. You are still united, connected to everyone and everything else. And in that lifestyle, you might experience the unity of yourself with plants and animals and the weather and the seasons and the sun and the moon and all that. You might experience that more, obviously, than your connection with other human beings, because of the way you're living, but you still haven't pulled yourself out of the pod. You are still part and parcel of it. And so I asked just before we started, and the feeling was of what I shared so far already, but that if we have unity with Creator, we're trying to unify ourselves with Creator, like to deepen that and our connection to everything. But the thing is, we are equally connected to everything else. Oh, that it's predicated, or what's the word? By default, if you say you are unified, that means that we are equal. We're all in this one fabric, and we're all equal. When we try to, and equal doesn't mean we're the same, right? That's unity and diversity. Equal means that the vibration of me is not any more important than the vibration of anybody else. That what I contribute to the world is just as important as anyone else, and the same goes for you. Anyone. Some years ago, oh gosh, My mind is racing all over the place. But I remember that the concourse one time was like, until everybody has a place at the table, when we are having meetings, discussions, when people are consulting on where to build a road, where to build a hospital, what drugs are legal or not legal, what anything you can think of, that anyone who is affected needs to be at the table. And until we can embrace that, we are really kind of just saying words. Like we might say unity, but we have to get to a place where everyone is contributing and everyone is valued. The person that lives in a shack in the mountains, their opinion and their thoughts are as important as the guy making a gazillion dollars and maybe funding the project. Even just because he has the money doesn't mean that it's his right to make all the decisions. He does have the right to share his money. He has the right to spend it as he chooses, but he's still not better than anyone else. So unity comes down to being like really a feeling and a knowing, which comes back again, like it comes up all the time, to our connection and deepening our connection with source, universe, creator, whatever word you want to use. It always comes back to that. And as we do that in a unified way with the knowing, like when I'm doing my work and visualizing and understanding that everybody's doing their own work and yet they were still part of the whole, we're getting somewhere.
So Kaaren,
That's it.
Our human definition of unity, well, there's several, right? But in English, a general definition would be a state of being united and joined as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
What would your counsel tell us is the spiritual divine definition of unity?
That what we just said, that we are one. If you image the universe as being an ocean of drops,
Mm-hmm.
or a beach of sand, bazillions of little kernels of sand, or if you want to do the ocean, bazillions of drops of water. That if that ocean is the whole universe, that each of us are a drop. And even if I'm a drop of water in the Caribbean, and Shelly, you're a drop of water under the Arctic ice, Wendy's a drop of water in the Nile River, even though we're having different experiences, that water still is one big system, right? All water. We have the same water now that we had a million years ago. It's the same water. And it flows. It goes underground, then it goes, the ocean. I mean, I don't know anything about the patterns, but I do know that all water, that it like continually flows, whatever the pathways are in the world. And so the drop of water in the Nile isn't any more or less important than the drop of water, in the Gulf of Mexico.
What would they want us to know about unity that we're not getting?
Because we are still driven by this materialistic concept that if you're the smarter you are, the richer you are, the more property you own, the more politicians you control, that makes you better. We still think that I don't know, Brad Pitt, handsome, attractive, and personality, well liked, well known, that he somehow is better than the neighbor kid. We're still caught up in that we heighten the value of somebody based on materialistic measurements rather than going, yes, Brad, you are beautiful. And yes, neighbor boy, you are beautiful. And in God's eyes, you are the same. Because all the money that somebody might have, or all the looks that Brad Pitt might have, or any of that stuff, you're not taking that with you. So it doesn't matter. All that doesn't matter. We are the same, and we are all advancing at our own rate. So what we take with us is our spiritual growth, because we're going to a spiritual place. We are in a spiritual place, right? There is not really there, it's here, but we don't understand that very well. So sometimes we use that analogy here and there. So yeah, to the degree that we allow ourselves to assign value, personal value, to someone based on material, non-infinite world existence, then we're confused. We don't understand that, and look at the history of colonizers, right? They have this thing like, we're gonna get in a boat and we're gonna go across the sea and we're gonna find some land, and then we're gonna say that that's ours. Then we're gonna take it from those people who are less than. And it always cracks me up, because the classical definition of civilized means that you understand that you and your group function as a group, looking out for others, that you have a set of rules and principles that are applicable to everyone to make everyone safe. Like even table manners. We have table manners not because we want to be prim and proper, but because it's really not sanitary for me to just flick my spoon around with my germs and everything on it. And there are table manners for reasons. We have reasons that we do things, and we call that civilization. And for some reason, when the colonizers would go somewhere, they would say, oh, those people aren't civilized because their weapons aren't as strong as our weapons, and their skin isn't beautiful white like we are. We have false truths, and we like to twist things to meet our agenda. So again, we have this long history of assigning false values and using, that whole manifest destiny thing. Oh, let's not even go there. Does that answer the question?
Yes. And it brings up this idea. So then what does it look like if I'm bringing myself into alignment with the spiritual concept of unity? What does that look like in my day? What does that look like in my community?
I had things today. There was, at this conference that I'm at, there are two women who are kind of, the logistics people. They know everything, who goes where and what is this and all that. And so I had a question. She was sitting with another woman, the elder's wife, actually, that matters. And they were exchanging knowledge to make this conference work. So I sat down at the table and I didn't interrupt. I just sat and I just waited. I'm like, when they're done, it'll be my turn. So that the first woman is complete and she walks off. And so now the logistics lady and I are starting our conversation. And this young man, he came from behind me. I didn't see him. He just walks up and decides that it's his turn, that he is going to start talking to the logistics person. And I'm thinking, well, that's interesting. How did he come to the decision that he was more important, that he didn't need to wait, right? If he had been thinking in terms of unity, he would have recognized, okay, they're having a conversation. I have a question, but I can sit down and I can wait. I don't have to do it right now. I can wait. Okay, if there was a building on fire somewhere, that's a different story. But that wasn't what he was asking about. It means if you're at the grocery store and the checkout person says, the new register opens and they come and say, okay, who's next? That you go, yeah, I'm next, because you are next. Or you say, no, you know what, this woman was here waiting before, that she's next. You go to the stoplight, you share food. I mean, all those little things that we do, we tend to, when we recognize that we're the same and that I'm not better and that unless I'm having an emergency, my situation does not warrant me cutting in front of other people. And it's especially important for those of us in the United States who walk as white, who people see as white, regardless. I mean, anyways, whatever your heritage is, if people see that you're a white person, and if you pay attention, you see it all the time, that somebody else who has darker skin will not get treated the same. So those of us that look like that, it's really up to us to start to be like, no, I wasn't next, she was next. Or to be the one that, treats that person as an equal and not go, well, okay, let me find the next white person that I'm going to deal with, And that sounds very simplistic. And I know that there's a lot of conversation about that, about the white privilege that people don't like to acknowledge. But I think because people don't really see it, they don't look, because it's not understood. And I wrote a whole thing on that some years ago that covered that, I thought, sufficiently. So we don't have to go there again.
So we have a question that I think is really great based on what you just shared. So if we relate this to our times, it seems people are having a difficult time relating to each other without judging. Especially right now, of course, the biggest thing that's noticeable is politics. How do we gather in unity and disagree?
It's funny. How do we gather in unity and disagree? There's the classic definition of argument simply means that I present my set of facts, set of understandings, you present your set of understandings, and we discuss them. Somehow we have taken the word argument to mean that we're yelling at each other. And so we need to learn how to argue. We need to remember that arguing is simply sharing ideas. And I may not convince you that anything that I feel is true. And you may not convince me of anything of your ideas. But I sit and listen to you, and I respect your position. And I now have a deeper understanding of you. Okay, so that's why Shelly always wears, pink shoes. Whatever it is. I mean, I don't have to judge her because she's wearing pink shoes, but this is who she is. She's sharing who she is. I always wear blue shoes. This is why I always wear blue shoes, and I don't have to make Shelly wear blue shoes, but she understands why I'm wearing blue shoes, and we can go, okay, yeah, cool. Yay for you and your pink shoes, and yay for me and my blue shoes, and off we go. We don't have to impose anything. Now, again, when it comes to the distribution of resources, then that's when we really have a problem, because everybody wants to make sure that they and theirs get what they need, and kind of, scoop all the everything towards themselves, and not recognize that everybody has an equal, has the equal right to that. So it does get tricky when it comes to money or food or land or, water rights. And so here again, we have to sit at the same table, sit at a round table, and have a conversation and consult. And consult, not like we have consultants today, right? We have some people that they're consultants. So I'm very good at growing tomatoes, and this town wants to sell tomatoes. So they call in the tomato grower consultant, and then they listen to what they say because they're like the expert. That's not what we're talking about with consulting. We're talking about all of us at the table going, this is how building the road here impacts my community and the next person. This is how it impacts us. Everybody's sharing together. I remember Harold Washington was mayor of Chicago for a long time. In the 80s, maybe 90s, I don't know. A while ago. And I watched a documentary one time, and it was very interesting. So Chicago, as I'm assuming everybody knows, is a huge city. So there are a lot of subdivisions, neighborhoods, what do you call them? Whatever the jurisdictions, whatever they are. And so a representative from this community would come to the mayor's office or come to the council meetings and be like, okay, we want new roads, we want new streetlights, we want whatever the project was. And he decided that what he wanted to do, instead of going, okay, this community, yeah, it's okay, we'll allow for you to get new streetlights. His way was, okay, so new streetlights. So how do we find a way to get new streetlights for everybody in Chicago that needs new streetlights? Not just the guy that was talking about it, but just because he said he wanted new streetlights doesn't mean that there are other communities that also need new streetlights and might need them even more than the first guy that brought it to the table. So that's a wonderful way, I think, of going, okay, these are our resources and streetlights is a need. How can we distribute this in a way that is equitable for everyone? Because you got new streetlights 5 years ago, so really, maybe you want new streetlights, but this other community hasn't gotten new streetlights for 10 years, and theirs are falling apart. So maybe it involves a new way of listening and not pushing your agenda, but going, okay, what benefits, what makes things equitable?
That makes sense. You're talking about things like universal health care and the sharing of resources in a more equitable way. We have another comment, and I've witnessed this with some of my coworkers and friends as well. I remember a time when we could have these kind of conversations when we didn't agree, and they were just interesting conversations, even in politics.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have people who are ending friendships with each other, who aren't speaking to family members.
Mm-hmm.
I guess from a spiritual perspective, how has this happened and how do we remedy it?
In a word, it's fear. It's fear. We've gotten so it's fear and lack of education, or lack of understanding, lack of a thought process. My sister, and she's passed, so she can yell at me when I get home. At one point, so we were raised in one faith, and my sister at one point joined some church, a Christian church. And in Christianity, there's like 50, 60, I don't even know how many thousand subsects of Christianity. And so I was very curious. I'm like, of all the sects of Christianity, why did you choose that particular one? What was it about that church that drew you? Like their belief that you eat fish on Tuesdays, their belief that, what was it? What was it about it? Was it the pastor? Was it the church itself? Was it, but what about that Christian and she just shut me down. And I'm like, I want to have a conversation. I'm curious. Why? What? I want to know what your beliefs are. Why did you choose that? What touched your heart about that? She shut me down. And then later I realized, maybe in the moment, I don't remember, this is years ago. She really didn't know why she chose that church. So she wasn't prepared to have a conversation about it. She just, maybe she saw a cute guy walk in. I don't know. a lot of people, like, they will follow somebody, or how many times people will be like, oh, I did all this research and I know blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you watched YouTube videos like we have here, right? You're watching a YouTube video. This isn't research. You're listening to what we have, our opinions and what we feel and what the Conquest is telling me. But research really involves engaging and not just listening to a bunch of people saying this or that, but okay, so if somebody says something that piques your interest, go find a book, go to the library, find out like what other people are thinking, what are other people's thoughts on this supposed fact. Educate yourself as to why you believe that to be true, and not just do it because your pastor said so or because your husband believes in so I do. It's kind of like sports fans, right? They're like, you have like the household, they all love whatever, the Kansas City Chiefs or something. They all love that, but why do you really, really, truly, why do you love it? Is it because your family does and that's what you grew up with, or did you really like notice all the different teams and really have a feel for, I love the way that they do defense, or I love the character of the coach. He really it shows love towards his players, or whatever it is. I mean, what really do you like about it? Or is it just because you like the colors of their jersey? But then at least I like them because I like the colors of the jersey. Nothing wrong with that. But you ought to know. You ought to know why. And so I think people are afraid. Part of it is people are afraid to have a conversation because they don't know. They don't know why. They didn't think about it. They just made a decision. They saw something. They read something. They heard something. And then somehow along the way, I don't know where, we have developed this humongous fear of being wrong. Heaven forbid you should be wrong or make a mistake. People will just keep plowing through. Doesn't matter. They're not even on the road anymore. They're plowing through somebody's yard, but gosh darn it, I can't deviate from that because they would have to admit that they made a mistake. It's not a bad thing to make a mistake. It's part of life. It's part of living. Make a mistake. Be silly about it. It's just, you're not like some statue on a pedestal that can't have a crack, and just be a human being, and human beings make mistakes. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to have made a crash decision. That's not the word. Whatever, instant decision. There's a word for it. Don't be afraid to go, oh, you know what? I did think that, but now I think maybe I was wrong, or maybe I made a mistake, or whatever. It's okay. Nobody's gonna like you less. And that even goes for people like, in power. You make a mistake. Be a human being. I made a mistake. I think that maybe we should do it this way. What do you guys think? Just own it. Own being human. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Don't be afraid to educate yourself. And I'm not saying you have to like go and be a scientist and do all the tests and all that, but you can read what others have done and see what were there. What did they come up with? Did what is it? Blue and yellow makes green. Did blue and yellow always make green? Touch it for yourself if it's a simple thing. But you don't have to, I don't know. You ever notice that people don't like to make a mistake?
Oh yeah.
Why?
I don't know. And I don't know if it's just our culture. Is this global or is this just in the American culture?
Yeah, that I don't know. That would be interesting. See, I should have got those Easter Island people. Are you guys afraid to make a mistake over there? And move into your house, your town, your island. Yeah, it's weird. People are just afraid to make a mistake.
So it feels like that fits within the unity and diversity, is that we don't have to be in agreement to be in unity. It's about how we speak with each other, and it's about how we regard each other as no one is more important than anyone else. We come at it with that approach, with respect, with love. It's okay to be different. It's okay to disagree. We don't need agreement to be in unity. Is that correct?
Right. We don't. We need to be in agreement that we're going to act in a way that is not going to impact others just because of something that we want. And again, we don't have to agree. We don't even have to like the other people, but we have to know that we share this same planet right now. And people on other planets, they share their planet, right? Share the air, whatever. And recognize the value that we are all creatures of God. Same with beings from elsewhere, right? When my kids were little, there'd be like a movie or something. They're like, "Oh, the aliens," and I'm like, "Aliens? Don't use that word. I don't like. That's not a good word." And I'm like, "Well, why? They're aliens." I'm like, "Okay, well, if they're aliens, that means you're an alien." They're like, "What?" Like, yeah. If they come here and they're alien because they're from someplace else, that means that if you go to their place, you're from someplace else and you're the alien. Do you like being called an alien? No. All right then. Don't use that word. They're creatures of, there are brothers and sisters, they're creatures of God. There's one creator. There's some debate to what degree there's, sub creators, but there's still this one overall entity that created everything. And you can't get around it. And so everything created by that entity is the same as you. Whether they have an eye sticking out the top of their head, a tail, look like a fish, doesn't matter. I was cleaning somebody's house one time. They had real bad ghost problems. And I think I was there like 3 or 4 times because there was so many. And there was a portal. I had to open it's a long story. But anyways, in one of the visits, I'm in the dining room, whatever. And there was like a wall, like a short wall. And so between, I guess the way the roof went, and then, so this is the short wall, and then this, so in this space in between here, there's all these beings come up. They'd all been hiding in there. Like, it was really bizarre. But one of them looked like a fish, and he was probably, I don't know, 10 feet long, maybe yay high, fin to, top of the body to the bottom. And as he swam by, he was just kind of like, like, he was so insulted that this being with 2 arms and 2 legs had been the one to release him. Like, really, seriously, this is just so embarrassing that this creature that isn't elegant like me and my species or my people, wherever he's from. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, so he and I are equal. That fish and I should call him a fish because I'm sure whatever he calls himself, his people, it's the same, an equal creature of God as myself, as an ant, as anything from anywhere.
Can you explain a little bit more spiritually? We are unique beings, but how are we connected to Creator? How are we connected to all life, plant, animal, to each other, to all kinds of beings in the universe? How are we all connected?
Okay, tell me what cell, wind, space in the universe is not inhabited or sentient. That's not the right word. Where creator doesn't exist.
Well, if you believe in Creator, that wouldn't exist. I mean, all cells, all atoms. Are you talking about what matter's made up of?
Matter, or things that we don't understand that we would maybe call matter. We'll call it matter for the sake of conversation because obviously there's so much that we don't know. But whether it's an energy, a frequency, a realm, a plant, or anything you can think of, any place, any cell, and we're just saying cell as being a small, this component of that where creator isn't. And if you agree that creator is everywhere, then how can anything not be equal?
So that's how we're connected, in that we are all a part of creation.
Yeah, I have just as much creator in me as you do in you, as does the neighbor, as does the fish guy, as does anybody. I can't claim that I'm walking around, I got more creator. I got double dose of creator. No. However, I'm permeated with creator, and everyone's permeated with creator, and it's whether they acknowledge it or not.
So how do I affect all of this that I'm connected with?
By existing.
Can you give some examples of an effect? Like if I'm in depression and struggling, or if I'm committing a crime, or if I'm happy and joyful, and how does that impact everything else I'm connected to?
In your bathroom vanity, you have multiple bulbs.
I don't know.
Okay, you've seen light fixtures where there's multiple bulbs, right? So there's 5 bulbs, and you put your 60-watt bulbs in there, and they all emit the same light. They're all, they're all equally emitting light into the space, and then one of them burns out. One of the bulbs burns out. It's still a bulb, but it burns out. So it doesn't make it any less equal than the other bulbs, but it's not radiating light. It's not sharing light into the space. We're not gonna, well, in actuality, we do. Actually, we do unplug the bulb and toss it and put in a new bulb. But so from that point, maybe the analogy doesn't work. But to the point of that it's not shedding its light, right? If we put the 5 bulbs in and they all work together, and that's how much light we want for this space, and they all work together, but then one of them doesn't work because it gets depressed, because it's the fibers burn up, or it whatever reason. So it's still there, it's still part of the unit, but it's not emitting light like it should be. And we're not, we all know that there's people that you're by them and you feel good, right? You just feel good being by that person. Don't have to talk, maybe never even see them again. You just sit next to them on the bus or the airport or whatever. You're like, wow, I'm really liking this person. I'm liking their energy. And then same thing, you sit by somebody and you're like, oh, I am not enjoying this. Does that make them any less important than me or anybody? No. So we're still in unity in spirit, not necessarily in application in this world. But the energy that they're putting forth is going out into the what is, and the what is everything. Whatever exists is the what is. And the what it is made of, what is made up of everything. And to the degree that wherever you're radiating, that's your contribution to what is. Does that make sense? I think that answers your question.
It makes sense. I just want to know more about it. Like how powerful is that connection? What level of impact do we have?
I think it has to do with intention and belief. Like I had lunch with somebody at the table, saying, oh, I had an hour's sleep last night. I'm like, well, you beat me. I had like none. I haven't had sleep in I don't know how long. I actually took a nap this afternoon because I just can't take it. I just can't take it. But at one point I had to push it. I'm like, I have a headache. I just feel like crap. I don't want to participate. I just don't. I need help. And so I'm like, please, could you give me enough? Please help me to make it through this next period of time. And like instantly, I started feeling better. And I'm like, wow, like boom, it shifted. I started feeling better, and I'm thinking, did something kick in? I mean, what's going on? But because I believed it and I asked, and because I'm connected to everything, you can respond. Everybody responds to each other. And I got enough energy from somewhere that like I didn't fall down any stairs or, because really I was so out of it. I'm like, I just don't know if I can. And my son was with me, and I'm like, you better keep an eye on me, because I don't know I don't even know what's going on. I'm like so lost right now. Out of my not out of my depth, but out of myself. See, yawning. Sleep is so important. We need that sleep. And when we don't have it, boy. So you by your belief and your understanding, and you can make changes. You can affect yourself and those around you. And like I didn't take a pill. I didn't drink a magic glass of water. I didn't, and I'm not being facetious, water is magic, but you know what I mean? I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything material, physical that somebody go, oh, that's what caused that. I just asked. No, it doesn't always happen like that. But I think the more that we engage in the whole and recognize who we are as part of the what is, the easier those things happen.
You're making me think about thought, like that this unity applies to how we think about others as well. It's not just our overt actions or our words, but it is how we think about each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting. When I was in a teaching environment, it's hard to avoid, the backbiting and gossiping sometimes. And I said some deep prayers about this. How do I extricate myself from this, right? Because even if I'm not participating in it, I'm exposed to listening to it, and walking away from it can feel rude.
Mm-hmm.
And the feedback I got after prayer and meditation was, even if the person never finds out what you said or never finds out what you listened to, you've done harm.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like it's at that level. That's powerful. That is changing almost the kind of being we are, if we were to think like that.
Yeah. And then remember, when you say that person never finds out, you mean in their earthly life, right? In their earthly life, nobody ever tells them. Shelly last week, man, she was making fun of that skirt you wore. In her earthly life, she never hears that. He or she, whatever. But spiritually, it's out there. Yeah. You put it out there, and it's out there. Everything that we think and feel and say, it's all out there. Our energies know. And that's why when when somebody walks on, when somebody goes home, and somebody's like, oh, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. I didn't get a chance to say I love you. I didn't get a chance. We had an argument, and it wasn't resolved. And I'm like, well, just talk to him now. Just, what are you talking about? You never got to say goodbye. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Bon voyage. I'll see you soon. Because energetically, they hear it. We're connected. We're connected. You don't have to, we get all caught up in, but I got to write a letter and sign my name to it, and then, hit the email send button, or put it in an envelope and put a stamp on it, and the mailman has to deliver it. Like, we want it to be a material, tangible thing, and it's not. We are connected. And that's why those things with the letters, like when people say, write a letter and burn it. You're not burning it like to destroy the evidence. You're burning it to send that energy out into the what is. And it'll be received. Maybe not consciously, but who cares? It's still, you did what you want. You shared your emotions, your feelings towards that person, your dissatisfaction or hurts or whatever that you wanted to clear, whatever it is, whatever the letter was about. It's out there. It's out there. You didn't destroy evidence. And my favorite around that story is somebody, there's a book called Marrying Smart, and you're supposed to list the things that you want in a marriage partner. 5 non-negotiables and the rest are negotiables. And this guy wanted to date me and I wasn't interested in it. So as a consolation prize, I got him this book. And because I cared about him, I mean, he deserves a partner like anybody else, but it wasn't going to be me. So I got him this book, so he had a tool to do this. So he wrote his list, and then you're supposed to burn the list and send it out to the what is. And he did. And it all burned to the ashes, but a little piece, I don't know, he must have blown it or sent it, I don't know how, but anyways, a little piece of paper that remained unburned floated back down to the ground. And he picked it up, and on that little piece of paper, it said young. And this man was probably 45, 50 at the time, and he wanted young. Man, just kidding. But the universe is like, yeah, no, we're not taking that. We'll take everything else, but you can keep your young. You're not getting that. And he did get married, and she wasn't young. She was, age appropriate. Powerful, huh?
Yes.
I like that a lot. Before we get too close to the end, we've had a question in here a couple of times now, referencing when is society going to get on board? Specifically, this question was, when will society get to the place where people do not judge others or take differences in beliefs personally and just love one another?
You looking for a date?
Yes.
An exact date.
Yes.
Personally,
You know what? It's contingent on us.
Right. I would like, she wrote in here, yes, a date in all caps. I would just like, I want to know how do we get there? I mean, I know I get it from the aspect of, being the model and loving people and doing my own work and not judging and loving people, even the ones that are difficult to love. I get that. And I know that putting that out there, it ripples and it makes an effect, and I get all that. But what needs to be done to get everybody else on board? How do we make that change?
Well, again, we're connected, right? And so we're doing our work, and we're doing our work, and we're doing our work. And praying for those. Okay, so like Bill Gates, I say this, you guys have heard me say this before, but he has the same challenge we do, right? We all have the same challenge. We're born, we have a set of circumstances, and somehow through this set of circumstances, we have to recognize that we are spiritual, eternal beings and live in that way, and then we walk on. It's the same journey for all of us. We just set ourselves different challenges than others, right? So somebody with the challenge of untold dollars, untold power, untold, the Bezos wants to like do over the Vatican or something in Italy for his wedding. Sometimes you have too much, right? When you can just do whatever you want, or the guy, the Amazon, not the Facebook guy that like destroyed a beach for his wedding. Sometimes you have too much. So they're challenged because they're kind of godlike, small g godlike. They're kind of godlike as they walk around. So it's a little, what a challenge that would be. Yeah, they got all kinds of money, and they can have fabulous vacations and houses and all the things that go with that. But wow, what a challenge to remember who you are. So those people, we, like if I was to say, we need to pray for Bezos and Gates, all those guys, most people are going to be like, Why would I pray for them? They have everything. They have everything materially, but they don't have the thing, the one most important thing. So I think that not only do we need to unite, but we have to open up our hearts and recognize that there are those seemingly at the top that really need our help because they're lost. They think that there's something else, and they're not. They're the same as you and me. And they gave themselves they chose a tough task, and they could use some help because there's nothing wrong with having a lot of money. Like, as long as you remember who you are and recognize that part of the responsibility of having that kind of wealth is that you distribute it with others. There's no way you can spend all that money, but you can do a lot of good with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that you're going to take with you when you leave here. And I don't care how many of those, freeze them or put their brain on a robot, or sooner or later, you're leaving here, like it or not. At some point, you're leaving here. And don't you other things, having done good things, put you in a much better position.
Right.
So
Go
let me just want to finish this. So it was our unity of thought and our working as drones or little, ants or whatever, bazillions of ants. We get a lot more work done than the queen bee or whatever. I guess ants don't have a queen bee, but whatever. Queen ant, whatever they are. And so as to time, however long that takes, unless it just gets so out of hand that we're going to have some kind of cataclysmic event. And, that could be any day. If you look at all the stuff that's happening, that could happen tomorrow. But it's all of us on this boat together, and we're all connected. And so, say we're going to have a cataclysmic event, the Concourse isn't going to tell us. They might say, oh, it might be within, they might give us some kind of rough estimate, but I don't think there's any value in knowing that. We have to do our best every day. If you know that next week, California is going to fall into the ocean, it's just not the same. Just like the couples, this has happened again. So I always know with couples, like they're either going to get divorced or they're going to stick together, or there was a woman that I know, and she got engaged, and I was all excited, and I'm like, that's not happening. Of course, but I don't ever say anything because if I say that's not happening, then that affects how she navigates that situation.
Exactly.
You have to navigate it in faith and trust, not with that all the answers. Shelly.
I was going to ask for the rough estimate.
Of course you were.
Down. Okay, it is 8:00. So we always finish with you telling us, like, what is the most important thing that, from a divine perspective, that they would like us to know about unity?
That our unity of thought, our unity of being, trumps what you see in the world. Like what you feel when you experience and project and walk with unity. Don't let what you see happening thwart that for you. Don't let it get in your way. Because it's too easy to fall into despondency and fear and all those things. Just know that it's done. It's done. We have unity. But whether this physical body on this plane experiences it or not, doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But it is. We have unity.
Thank you. That is beautiful. I love that.
So, okay, we'll do our healing piece. And for those of you who haven't maybe done this before, you're welcome to leave now. Obviously, you all have a button on your machine that tells you to exit. But if you'd like to receive some healing energy that is for you, I mean, it goes out, and the concourse, the universe, they know where it's going and they know what it's doing and everything. So we're just channeling it, and you receive it, and you feel it how you feel it, and that's it. You don't have to think about it. Simply allow it. I'll stay on as long as I need to, and then I'll go. But you can stay. I'll hang up, but you can stay on the call as long as you like. You can leave the call and still stay in the energy, and you can come back anytime to YouTube. We always forget to say subscribe. You're supposed to subscribe, and they always have the little button that flashes on the screen and everything. So just imagine a button flashing, and then you point down there to the subscribe button. But anytime, and doesn't matter. Even the ones from years ago. So, okay, here we go. Gentle breeze. Image of being in a hammock, the most perfect, weightless hammock. Feeling the concourse of energies, the unity.